was like Mexico, let's see, I was in Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, so my 77th nation, yes. I entered El Salvador from the border crossing with Guatemala, and all that happened was basically a policeman with a clipboard just wrote in everybody's details. There was no passport stamp. I was so dejected that my British passport wasn't even stamped. I mean, normally if you flew into San Salvador airport, you just get a passport stamp, but border guards on all borders of El Salvador don't want to stamp people's passports. So I continue on the bus to El Salvador, arriving at midnight, and as I'm walking around town, I'm really skepticism that I'm in a really dangerous country, really dangerous city. And as what I've noticed in like the last few days while traveling in Central America, just people have guns everywhere, just for security purposes. It's not like we're in Afghanistan or Somalia or Syria or Iraq, you know, just people carry shotguns around with just security guards and all that outside banks and all these other places. So I found a taxi driver who took me to a hostel, which is, I think it's run by a German Salvadorian, yes. And because I arrived at the hostel like late at night, I decided to pay for another night because I didn't want to have to like leave for Honduras like the next morning and not see anything. My first thing to eat in El Salvador was pasapaya, like these like little pikelet like shapes, little like tortilla flour based with a lot of I think some actually did have like fruit. They were like really nice. I remember I bought a bag of 5 and I thought, you know, I'll buy a bag of them and they're quite nice. But pasapaya, pasapayo, isn't it? I can't remember how you say it. Now, one of the most important figureheads in Salvadoran history was Oscar Romero, who has now become a saint. He became a priest many years ago, and then became like a bishop, and he was the Archbishop of San Salvador, and he was actually in Rome during the time of like World War II. So when he came back on a boat from Italy to Cuba, the Allies had taken over Italy, and the Cubans had detained him because they thought he was a fascist, because he just came from Italy. So the Cubans detained him for a few days, him and his friends, and then after a few days in jail, they said, okay, you're not a fascist, you're not evil, you're a good priest, it's time that you go back to Central America. So they put him on a bus, they put him on a boat that goes to Mexico, and they traveled overland back to San Salvador. And he spent the rest of his life caring for his people. And during the times when it was basically communism versus fascism, far left versus far right, USA against like the Soviet Union, he was like, okay, this war is bad and stupid for you all, I'm not going to take sides, I want you all to stop fighting. Because it was a huge civil war that went on for many years. And then all of a sudden, he was martyred in 1981 in his own town. Like, just during mass, he was martyred by like one of those far-right killing groups that had been backed by the CIA, even backed by Reagan. I remember this guy, Blowtorch Bob, he was responsible for this guy's death. So to go to his tomb at the bottom of the big cathedral in San Salvador was really moving for me, even though I am really against Catholicism and I'm an Anglican Marxist and a lover of Protestant and Orthodox churches. I thought it was really special. It was the tomb of a saint. Because, you know, growing up in Sydney, I went to Mary McKillop's tomb and she became a saint. And so now that's 2 saints that I've visited in my life. The people in San Salvador were really nice, especially with the food. I remember I had like a dish of like fried chips and sprinkles with grated cheese and tomato sauce, and I was eating with a toothpick. I had a banana dipped in chocolate, dipped in nuts, frozen on a stick. I even had fried donuts on the street. I loved like the street foods of San Salvador. It was quite amazing. I walked to where the president lives, and there's so much security there, and people with guns, so I didn't want to take any photographs or do any vlogging. I also walked to the parliament, so it was the same case, didn't want to take any photographs either. There's a nice monument in a park with like a statue of, I guess like Jesus on top of a globe. Kind of reminds me of the one I saw in East Timor. And where I was staying, they had like flags of the far left party, which had been in power for many years in El Salvador. But like the last election, they lost to the centre-rightist guy who was of Palestinian and Jewish descent. And yeah, the current president of El Salvador isn't really far left at all. I stupidly drank the tap water in El Salvador because what happened was, right, at my hostel we had a water fountain, like water pool like this big. And then so we were out of filtered water, so I thought, oh, I'm just going to go pour myself a cup of water to have my medication, drank it. The next day, while waiting for that bus to Honduras, I was on the toilet for 20 minutes. Even when I had nothing to like crap out, I was just really sick, like a stomach cramp. I didn't read the guidebook basically where it says don't drink the water in El Salvador because in my opinion, I did not really see El Salvador as impoverished compared to like a country like in Africa. I mean, there are good like I'm trying to say the word. Yeah, like I mean, there are better facilities, like better roads, better like telephone lines, better transports than like let's just say a country like Timor-Leste or Mauritania. Yeah, but in Central America you don't have access to clean drinking water, so that's a big factor. Like not to drink tap water, otherwise you're going to be regretting it for a whole day, and then you may get even really bad dehydration and all. So my bus leaving El Salvador to get to Honduras was delayed. It was like a 3-hour delayed. And then I finally got on it. Every hour I was going to that one toilet on the bus just to empty my bowels. I had nothing else to empty out of. So that like taught me a lesson, like never to drink tap water ever again in a foreign country. El Salvador, you're pretty close to my heart. I would rush back to see more of your country. But in that time of my life, I was on like a tight schedule, a tight budget, and like a tight 14-day trip turnaround. So I just had to get in and out. Anyway, that's El Salvador. Everyone know it, everyone out.